Hello, 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 my beautiful, powerful patients. We are picking up a part 3 today of this wonderful interview that the Free Thinkers podcast had with Dr. UMAR Johnson. And we're going to pick up today with the part 3. And honestly, I don't know if I'm going to get through this whole video. But because the video itself is an hour long, and those of you who have been watching sees that my videos are like 40 minutes. But anyway, welcome. I am the mental chiropractor. My name is Tezra, and I'm here to help you realign your mind and plop yourself back down into the driver's seat of your life so that you can drive your life in the way that you want it to go and not the way that they will have you to go. So sit back, get comfy, and if you landed upon my channel, one flicker of your finger means the whole world to my channel. So please go ahead and subscribe. And if you are digging the content of this video, please do not forget to like this video as well, because it helps my algorithm. Okay, so let's get into it. We are going to continue with the Free Thinkers podcast with Dr. UMAR Johnson.
Free your mind. The future's right here in front of your eyes. The world's changing right now's the time. You're all welcome, take a seat, come inside. Let Shino help you open up your mind. Free thinkers.
Okay, I just wanted to give you all a little bit of their intro because I love it. So now I just want to fast forward to where we last left off. And we may do a little bit of a lead in. Sorry, y'all. I need an assistant because I'm not really sure how to best do these things. But I thank you for your patience. Okay.
Still, you said we need to get back to oneness, correct? So in this oneness has to come from source. Where's this one frequency coming from? Where's this one source of love? Where's this one source of power coming from? And how come we can't access it right now? Even if however many hundreds of years ago they tricked us, why can't we be untricked now? Like, why are we still tricked?
Because spirit and psychology are separate, related but separate. Spiritually, you have the potential to overcome white supremacy. Psychologically, you don't have the belief or the courage to do so. God governs in a manner.
I first want to start with our question because it's such a deep question. And it's a question that many of us need to ask, especially the people who are into Black consciousness and the people who are like the Israelites and all of these other segments and factions of groups. She said, where is the one source? It's not multiple sources. It's not a God of the white people. You know, I'm always putting that in quotes. So if y'all are not familiar with me by now, I do not subscribe to the terms white, black, brown, red. Those are crayon colors. My manufacturer is not Crayola. So if you want to subscribe to those labels, then by all means, feel free to do so. I'm not here to judge you, but know that that is not from higher source. That is not of a human being. That is a man-made construct. It is a social construct that is created to keep you limited, to keep you in a box. So just know that I obliterated the fucking box 10 years ago, if not more. I no longer subscribe to any labels that has been created or constructed by mankind. Okay. So just to give you that backstory. So there is no white God. There is no black God. So what she's saying is the one source. Now, there is one source. So even though we were tricked before, if we're talking about oneness comes from a source. That's why it's oneness. And so if we were tricked before, because Umar's going to go into that, I believe. But if we were tricked before, what about now? Okay, we were tricked before. Okay, got it. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But what about now? Like, what is about us now that we still cannot tap into or reconnect into that abundant source that he talked about earlier, about that freedom, that liberation, that empowerment as a people, as a person. First, it starts with the person, and then as each individual taps into their own empowerment and liberates themselves, then it becomes a collection of liberated, empowered people. And it has nothing to do with division or polarity. It has to do with connecting to source energy, or reconnecting to source energy, I should say. Okay, let's continue.
That I would consider soft governance. What I mean by that is God has given us free will as human beings. You have the free will. Nobody forced us to let white people into Africa. We did it on our own. So we have to take responsibility for a lot of this.
Yes, sir.
Nobody forces us to spend $30 billion on hair, or $2 billion on Air Jordans, or $800 million on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork, or $4 billion on liquor. Nobody forces us to buy.
Darn it, people. I'm sorry if that had an echo to it. I am so sorry. So, this is where I say I agree with, I'm going to say quite a few things that Umar says. So when he said this right here, and see, and this is where Woman King, I think this is why the Woman King did not receive the Academy, or was snubbed of the Academy for Best Picture, because what the Woman King did, it put the responsibility back onto in the hands of the Africans, the genesis of it all. And the power structure, the powers that be, do not ever want that to happen, because the minute a person takes full radical responsibility and accountability for their actions, they are no longer the victim of anyone. Because why? Because when they take full responsibility and accountability for their lives, their choices, they were resigned to the fact that I will never, ever let this happen again. And the power structure, those behind the curtains, they know that the only person who is in complete and total control of their lives is the person themselves. Once they come into that knowing, once they come into that awareness, then they know that the game is over. So the Woman King, I think that the Woman King got snubbed of the Oscar because it was getting too close to the actual truth, and it could start to wake people up if it were to be given the attention and the focus of being an Academy Award winner. Because Woman King actually dated back to the genesis of how this whole transatlantic slave trade happened. It happened because the kings of Africa, who also owned slaves and had their own slave trades going, they got into bed with people that they thought that they could trust, who had goodwill and intentions that actually did not. And the colonials flipped the tables on them. So when Umar is talking about, God gives us free will, and I can go a little bit deeper here, if y'all are ready. If y'all are ready, then get close. Put down whatever you're doing, or, and just listen up. You don't necessarily have to look at the screen, but listen up. So when Umar says God gives us free will and choice, do you know where that happens? It doesn't happen after we come to the birthing canal, or we come to the portal. It doesn't happen then. Our free will and choice happens when we are on the other side, before we come through the portal of the woman's womb. That's when free choice and will happens, because guess what? We choose who our parents are. We choose what family lineage that we're going to be born into, in order to get the lesson that we want to gain while in the physical incarnation. Now, this is deep. And this is what the mental chiropractor is all about. We are now really kind of delving into what the mental chiropractor is all about. Poking fun at Umar, all of that, and this is fun, but does it help us to ascend? Does it help us to get spiritually liberated? Does it help us to plop ourselves back down into the driver's seat of our lives? Does it help us to be empowered human beings, sovereign human beings that have complete and total control over our lives? Does it help us to gain awareness to that fact? I think not. And that is what the mental chiropractor is here to do. I'm here to help us to realign our minds, to reconnect with our divine source, because that is where we begin to reclaim our power, to reclaim our sovereignty, and to take back control over our lives and stop being driven and stop having our minds programmed and conditioned from legacy media. Okay? So I'm going to just put that there. Now, God's free will and choice, it begins in formlessness. It begins before we have even taken incarnation. So we have decided what family lineage we want to be born into, who our parents are going to be. We've all decided what role we're going to play in this life experience. We have decided how we want to look. We have decided what experiences we are going to have. So that is the reason why there is no such thing as victimhood, because in the fifth, six other dimensions and so forth and so on, we've chosen these things so that we are able to continue our ascension in formlessness. So when we're here in Earth School, we chose these experiences to aid us in formlessness. We chose these experiences. So when I had my date rape or molestation, I chose these experiences to help me to continue to ascend. So I am not the victim. I agree to this in formlessness, but of course, when we come into form, we are veiled. And the veil is thin. The veil is very thin, but we are veiled. And when we are veiled, we forget all about, we have no idea. Most of us, some of us do, because some of us are still very tightly connected, but we have no idea of what we agreed to in formlessness. And then also, we have agreed to play certain roles for humanity. Some of us has agreed to be the martyrs. Some of us have agreed to be the villain, the biggest villains. And that is to serve humanity. Love is being able to take on the most heinous roles in the physical incarnation in order to serve humanity and in order to fulfill the divine destiny of the human race. And so we will agree to being that to playing that role, to being that figure in the physical incarnation. Because love conquers all, love dominates and is all. So a lot of the times we get caught up in the heinousness of what we see in the physical realm and not even realizing or connecting the fact that all of this first happens in formlessness. And then the physical realm is just the expression of the thoughts, the mindsets, the vibration pushed outwardly. Okay. So if you have questions about that, feel free, or comments, feel free to leave me comments and a thought, because I know that was deeper than I normally get, but this is where this channel is about, and this is where I am. This is what we're really about here. Okay. So that I agree with Umar when he says that, God gave us free will and choice, but not here in the physical manifestation. It happened in formlessness. And so, yes, when we decided to allow the colonials to come over and do business, it was basically a business transaction that we have to take responsibility for. So I do agree with him when he speaks on that. A lot of the, honestly, a lot of the things that Umar says, I do agree with him. I just don't like the fact that he's saying it in a very limited colonially trained mindset, but he is onto something. Okay, let's continue.
Twice the luxury cars of Europeans, but yet we control less than a quarter of their wealth. The issue is we have a say-so in what happens. Mm-hmm. And one
also, Umar bullshit. unloading. So when he talks about, and I don't want y'all to get all caught up in these fantastical numbers that he throws out, because he never throws out his sources for these numbers, because I am going to look this up myself. But how do they know if the quote black end quote community spend, how many dollars do they know that they spend on Air Jordans or on meats? Who collects that data? When you talk about $2 billion, $20 billion that are spent by quote black end quote people, who collects that data? I've never been surveyed. They would think I'm a black person. I've never been surveyed. So when Umar is busting out these numbers, and I think that it would be, maybe this is a Lennon honor task if he's ever going to watch this video, but he's not. Cookie Crush chatters. I know y'all are in here. So we want to know, where does Umar get his numbers from? And are his numbers consistent from one interview to another, from one live video to another? Because he throws them out there because there are sensational numbers. But I think that there are also factitious numbers. I don't think these numbers are real. I think he pulled these numbers out of his ass. Okay, let's continue.
One of the weaknesses of African people is whenever things go wrong for us, we want to look to God. You see how that works?
Or blame the white man.
Blame the white man or blame God. But neither God nor the white man forced you to spend your disposable income on useless junk and enjoyments. So at the center of this situation is a refusal to accept accountability. We believe in plausible denial. And the reason black people believe in plausible denial is we want no accountability or responsibility to other black people for the solutions that we need. Now, getting back to God, I want to be clear on a couple things that might clarify. We're all recycled. Because we're all ancestors who have been here before. You're an ancestor from your bloodline return to finish a job that wasn't. I'm an ancestor from my bloodline return to finish a job that was not created. Now, in heaven, you negotiate the purpose of this incarnation with supreme consciousness. And once you come to this world, you are given certain circumstances and people, such as your parents, your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, the neighborhood you're born into, over which you had very little.
Ooh, I think he's going to say over to which you had very little. I don't know what he was going to say, but we're going to find out. But do y'all see? Did he not just say exactly what I have just said about how we chose, the parents, and maybe he didn't quite go there as I did, because I don't know what he's about to say. We had very little. I cut it off then. But here's the thing, though, ladies and gentlemen, he's talking about we are all recycled, but he is now here, and we are. I believe that we live incarnations over and over and over and over again till we achieve the highest of ascension, and we no longer have to come back here to continue to go through earth school. Tina Marie, my favorite R&B singer of all times. If you are familiar with her, she has a song that is called what is it called? It's one of my favorite songs. I can't even think of it right now. Anybody who is watching this video, I'm sure you're going to drop it into the chat for me. Let me see if I can find it. But she talks about coming back and getting to the point where she doesn't have to come back here no more. I'm looking it up. Of course, all y'all know Out on a Limb. Y'all know Ooh La La. Oh my God, y'all, don't get me started with my Tina Marie. Don't get me started. Deja Vu. Deja Vu is the name of that song. If you don't know or not familiar with Tina Marie, I would implore you to do so, especially if you love R&B and soul music. But Deja Vu, Tina Marie talks about this in her song Deja Vu, to where we get to the point where we don't have to come back here anymore. And so the things here is where I split off from Umar. I don't think that we're necessarily born in, we could be linked to souls, but it doesn't mean that every time we take on an incarnation that we take it on in a melanated skin. Just because we're linked to souls, it doesn't mean that we incarnate in the physical the same each lifetime. I believe, and I've seen. I'm going to land this in a minute. We didn't get very far in this piece of in this part of the interview. Sorry, I just moved my camera a little bit. Ooh. Can I put it back? Okay. We didn't get very far in this video, but because it was so much goodness there for me to just like massage and sink my teeth into. But I have heard, and maybe you've also heard too, of young kids who remember their last incarnation. And I remember this little low melanated boy. He was maybe about 6 or 7, and he told his mom that he was a quote black end quote woman, and he knew her name and everything, because he was still very connected to that incarnation of his soul, of that soul lived experience. And come to find out, the mom did the research and the woman existed. The woman existed. So we don't necessarily, and I don't want to get everybody, caught up in melanated people. I want you to understand that we don't monopolize ancestors. When we say ancestors, know that everyone has ancestors. It's not just quote black end quote people. Everybody has ancestors. The Europeans have ancestors. The Germans have ancestors. All of us have ancestors. So we are living ancestors, like Dr. Umar said. I agree with that. We are living ancestors, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we donned this melanated skin. For all Umar knows, in his ancestral experience, he may have been a slave master. No one would ever know, but basically the souls that we link up to, like your spouses or your parents or your siblings, those are the people, or the souls, I should say, that you experience every incarnation with, and you all play different roles within that incarnation. Okay, so I just wanted to just mention that a little bit. And they talked about when things go wrong, we want to blame God or the quote white end quote man, and that is so true. But we have to start, and this is where me and Umar come back together, because we have to take full and radical accountability for our choices and our lives. Because once we do that, and see, if Umar really leaned into that heavier, then he would know, or heavily, then he would know that all the other stuff that he's talking about is a moot point. Because at the end of the day, when you become radically responsible and accountable for your life, then you are not going to allow yourself to fall into the prey of those that mean you harm over and over and over again, because you no longer see yourself as a victim. You realize that you yourself are not the victim. You are the victim of your mindset. You are the victim of your choices. And once you wake up to that fact, then you pop yourself back down into the driver's seat of your life, and you're like, okay, well, I'm done with that shit. Now we're heading into a different direction. Feel me? Okay, so let's continue. I just wanted to expound on that a little bit more, and let's see what Umar was going to say.
Control, but they were sent here because you needed these particular experiences to set you up to be successful in the attainment. That wasn't. I'm an ancestor from my bloodline returned to finish a job that was not created. Now, in heaven, you negotiate the purpose of this incarnation with supreme consciousness. And once you come to this world, you are given certain circumstances and people, such as your parents, your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, the neighborhood you're born into, over which you had very little control, but they were sent here because you needed these particular experiences to set you up to be successful in the attainment of your life's destiny.
Right.
That includes the time you were born.
Right.
So what I mean by that,
Y'all, I'm going to end this here, because I'm so mad at Umar. Oh, y'all. Okay. Y'all, I'm mad. I am pissed off right now. Umar, Umar, he knows he knows, and he's playing the role to keep people asleep. He is playing the role to keep people in a certain low vibrational frequency. Yo, he is playing the role. You just heard him. He knows the spiritual aspect and perspective of how this physical life is. He knows. So if he knows to the level that he is speaking of right now, that he also knows that there is no God of, quote, black, end quote, people. There is no God of, quote, white, end quote, people. He knows it's supreme consciousness. You heard him say and refer to the divine source energy as supreme consciousness, because that's the only thing that there is supreme consciousness. There is no fucking white supremacy. When you say white supremacy, then you are placing that person above you. Never ever use that terminology. There is nobody more supreme than myself than supreme consciousness, which I am a part of. And when I tap into a supreme consciousness, flows through me. And when supreme consciousness, when I allow supreme consciousness to flow through me, and how do I allow it? I allow it by taking back my hijacked mind, because that's the only thing that can connect us to supreme consciousness or disconnect us, because our mind is our frequency. So our frequency and our mind are in alignment. There's never a thing where your mind is thinking one thing and your frequency is another. No, the two are coincide. So Umar knows. I'm convinced that Umar knows. And he's serving his purpose. He's serving his purpose that he has signed up for in this lived incarnation. But so in talking about supreme consciousness, that in and of itself negates, debunks any other consciousness. There is no black consciousness. There is only one supreme, there's only one consciousness, and that is supreme consciousness. So when we're talking about oneness, there's no bifurcated oneness. You can't split oneness and then still have oneness. No, you can't. When you split oneness, then you have two-ness or you have duality. And then that is exactly what oneness is about. She comes down and supreme consciousness splits so that she can experience herself as duality, and part of the duality journey is coming back into oneness, into the awareness of oneness. Y'all, I'm sorry that we did not get very far. I'm going to do one more clip, but Umar, you know Umar, you know, and I am convinced that you know. And I don't know why you're not using your influence, that you're not using your power to enlighten people. You are using your power to keep people imprisoned. Why? Because is that the easiest way to get to their pockets? Is that the reason why? Well, then, brother, I'm going to need you to find another way. Because we are here to help people on their journey of awakening up. That's what we are here to do. And you ain't got to dupe and bamboozle people. You are going to get paid. You're going to get supported being on the right side of spiritual history, even though it's no such thing. But being on the right side of spirituality and not being on the victim side of it. Okay, let's continue. And I'm probably going to end it here and just let him rock out. But y'all, thank you for bearing with me through that moment, because Umar knows. He knows.
Is the reason you are born at this time. Right. And I am born at this time. Yeah. And all of us here are born at this time is because within our collective destiny, apart from our individual one, we have an obligation to destroy white supremacy. Okay. You would not have been born at this time if you did not have an obligation to return the world back to freedom, justice, and equality. That means put black people.
Okay. We are here to destroy white supremacy. Well, white supremacy doesn't exist. White supremacy, let me put it this way. I'm not going to say that white supremacy doesn't exist. White supremacy cannot exist without your consent to it. I don't consent to white supremacy. White supremacy is not allowed in my universe. So therefore it's non-existent. I'm going to land it here. And I just wish the Omar would come up out of duality and come up out of the propaganda and the narrative of the colonials. He doesn't really realize that how much he is working to aid. He is on the side of the colonials because that's exactly the kind of mindset that they want. They created this mindset. They created this otherness mindset. So I'm going to drop it here, and we're going to pick up with part 4. And I don't know, I'm going to drop the link to this video because I honestly don't know if we're going to be, because this can't be a 10-part video, can it? Has Lennon Honor ever done a 10-part video? Anyway, if he did, that's great, but I'm not trying to do a 10-part video. So thank you. And once again, if you are still here at this point, then thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you do like and subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe. I'm almost at 500. If we can get there before the new year, that would be so awesome. That would be the Santa Claus, the present that Santa has brought me. So please like and subscribe. And then, as always, be and stay empowered. Until next time, until our next session, I will see you later.